thanks for listening. This is Brian Hurley from Business Performance Improvement. The podcast Lean Six Sigma Bursts are short lessons, comments, Q&A, and insights. If you have a question, send your question through the Anchor app, and we might feature you on a future episode. Or contact me at biz-pi.com. In this podcast, I share a module under the Lean Six Sigma White Belt course that's available for free on the Lean Six Sigma ecosystem.com website. I've been moving a lot of my course materials onto this platform. There's a lot of free courses. There's also some paid courses you can check out. This one is specifically around the history of Lean. So I wanted to share that with you. And then in the notes, you can find a link to that course where you can learn about Lean and Six Sigma and get a good overview of both methods, plus some examples of them combined together. So hopefully you check that out. Again, you can go to the Lean Six Sigma ecosystem.com website and sign up for a free account and get access to a lot of other free courses as well. Hope you enjoy.
The most modern version of Lean tools and methods comes out of Toyota. You might hear something called TPS, or Toyota Production System. And in the video, they said TPS. In their world, they don't call it Lean. That's because it's always been their TPS system. Outside of Toyota, this word Lean got derived after they studied Toyota and said that's what they saw was this leaner operation and organization. However, it was not Toyota that invented all these methods. As they grew their company, they were learning from other companies. When they first started off, they were struggling. They weren't a powerful automaker like they are today. They combined a lot of the self-developed techniques with what they learned from others. Taiichi Ohno and Shigeo Shingo are mentioned a lot with helping develop techniques that they came up with. They also studied the Ford assembly line from the 1900s and how that manufacturing was done. They also looked at industrial engineering methods from Frederick Taylor and the Gilbreth couple that were doing a lot of research about efficiency and productivity. They also studied Dr. Edwards Deming and Joseph Juran, some of the quality gurus, and learned from how the US military ran the production during World War II, which was ramping up the entire country around production. And there was some training within industry methodology of how to teach workers how to learn their job when there weren't a lot of people available to teach them. And so building a relationship between the manager, supervisor, and the worker in a way that encourages learning and development, that was TWI. So they took all these and then they built some of their own methods. And then these books that they put out to teach others about that in Japan were translated in English in the late 70s and early 80s. Slowly, this knowledge started to come back to the US. So it originated in the US and then expanded into other countries. It got to Japan through a lot of consulting work that was done after World War II. The Japanese, especially Toyota, learned some other methods and developed them. They wrote books about them, and then it comes back to the countries that originated a lot of these methods, and they started to see the other things that they added to that program.
Let me pause for a moment to tell you about our sponsor, Creative Safety Supply. Creative Safety Supply is a great resource for free guides, infographics, and continuous improvement tools. I recommend starting with their 5S guide. It includes breakdowns of the 5 pillars, ways to begin implementing 5S, and even organization tips and color charts. From red tags to floor markings, it's all there. Download it for free at creativesafetysupply.com/5S.
And I would say, especially in the US here, a lot of the companies got complacent. After World War II, a lot of countries were struggling. The US was in good shape. There was limited international competition. There wasn't a lot of motivation to have to improve until some of the competitors in other countries like Japan started to outproduce and produce better products and services. That's why the Six Sigma program came into effect. We've been slacking on our quality and productivity and reliability. Now we're losing market share. We need to do something to catch up. And I think some of that happened in Europe too, as they were rebuilding and starting to rebuild their economy and rebuild their manufacturing. And now they're starting to compete with the US companies. But it took a long time for that to happen. There's a study mission at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where they were trying to figure out why Toyota was making such big strides on their automobile manufacturing. And they did a research project. And they studied US automakers, and then they went to Japan and studied Japanese automakers. Toyota was one of those. And that's where they came up with the word lean. They said they just do everything leaner. They have half the people, half the inventory. Things seem calmer and less chaotic, less defects, less recalls, less warranty claims. They're doing something different. And so they studied it, and then they published a series of books. The first one was The Machine That Changed the World, specifically about the automakers and the study that they did. The second book was called Lean Thinking, which made it more general and showed applications outside of automobile manufacturing. So if you're interested in automobile manufacturing or auto industry, I would check out The Machine That Changed the World. Or if you're interested in that research study, that book describes it and like the origin of what they learned when they studied Toyota specifically. If you just want to see the original Lean book, then the Lean Thinking book was written by the same people that did the research project, but they made it more general and more broadly applicable. And then over those years, and that was the early 90s, I think, by the time that book came out, and people started to learn more about this method, and it's been spreading ever since. So it also has been around for many decades and expanding into many different industries. One of the things that was interesting about this was around the Japanese culture. And a lot of people said, all right, we understand what they're doing, but the Japanese culture is what makes that work. We couldn't do that in the US, or we can't do that in Europe. We can't do it the same way. The workers are different. The early 1980s, General Motors and Toyota went on a joint venture together. Toyota wanted to have a foothold in North America, and GM was interested in learning about this TPS program they had. So they built a partnership together, and they reopened one of their bad facilities. And within a couple of years, it became their best facility. So they did something right. What it proved was you can actually do this with non-Japanese workers. This is not a cultural thing. It's a management philosophy. And there were some improvement techniques that they, brought in that weren't available before. But it was really about how the worker and the managers interacted with each other, and how the manager became a coach and mentor for the worker, not telling them what to do. So that was a big change and shift in how they approached it. And that's why they got better productivity. So that was an example that showed this is not cultural. It was about the management philosophy. So that's a really interesting case study of NUMMI, which is now the Tesla facility in Fremont, California, which is a massive, huge facility. Okay, so that's a little origin on history. I could talk about that for hours.
I'm pleased to announce the launch of Lean Six Sigma Ecosystem. Within this membership group, you can have access to many different templates, videos, case studies, and courses from my over 25 years of process improvement experience. Many templates and courses are available for free, such as 2-Second Lean, Lean at Home, 5S and Visual Controls, Kaizen events, Six Sigma White Belt, applications of Lean in healthcare, and Intro to Root Cause Analysis. You can also have access to templates such as fishbone diagrams, facilitator skills assessment, cross-training matrix, control charts, Lean Six Sigma skills assessment, tips for greening your Lean event, Kanban size calculator, project prioritization matrix, and many more. Under our membership levels, you can have access to courses such as Advanced Root Cause Analysis, SPC, Measurement Systems Analysis, Capability Analysis, and non-parametric statistics. We'll be adding more each month, so check back often or let us know if there's a course you'd like to see. Go to leansixsigmaecosystem.com to learn more.